Hey everybody, it is Quickened. So, as you guys know, I've been living on my own for almost a year now. My lease is up in just a couple weeks. So tonight, I thought I would talk to you guys a little bit about living on my own and how I really wasn't prepared or cut out for it.
This apartment ain't big enough for the one of us, Ethan.
So in the last year, I feel like I've gone through a lot of struggles, and one of them, I thought living on my own would be really cool. I kind of fell into this romantic notion that living on my own would be like the introvert's dream, just like spending all my time alone. I was like, I love my privacy. I love being by myself. I can't wait. This is going to be the best time of my life. You only get one chance to live on your own. I just really wanted to dive into it and do it. And it wasn't very long until I realized I didn't really like it. But I didn't want to admit it at all. I'm kind of just admitting it to myself for the first time the last couple weeks. So living on your own, one of the hardest things about living on your own is you're taking care of all the bills. So not only am I paying the entirety of the internet, the entirety of the rent, the entirety of the electricity, water, anything else. Little things I didn't really think of kind of came up, like paying for all my food. So because I live by myself, a lot of my food kind of goes to waste. It's kind of a huge shame, but I'm buying the smallest soy milk and a single orange juice, and still a lot of my food goes to waste. It's kind of at the beginning of the week, I'll go shopping, and by the end of the week, I'm like, I didn't touch most of this stuff. I didn't have the chance to. So this leads to me either wasting a lot of food, eating out, so I'm only eating single meals, or going to the grocery store all the time, which is what I started doing the last couple months. Just buying what I'm going to eat for the day. However, you can imagine it kind of is pretty time consuming to go to the market every single day. And with that, I feel like I'm spending a lot of money because I'm buying these smaller portions where the better deals come in buying larger quantities. And I freeze everything. My loaf of bread is in the freezer, my cheese is in the freezer. The majority of my stuff is in the freezer, but still it wasn't something I ever thought of. When I lived with roommates, it was kind of we picked at each other's food. If somebody had too much food, they'd be like, oh, Amanda, I'm not going to be here this weekend. Can you finish my yogurt? Can you finish my cream cheese? Or you would have little communal things, like a communal butter that I didn't ever mind sharing or thought twice about. Or I would take a sip out of someone's soy milk if I just needed a little bit for my coffee. Things like that. If my roommate got a big thing of creamer, obviously it's gonna last a long time unless you share it. But the savings kind of accumulates in that way, and you're not spending a ton of money on food. Same with the Wi-Fi. It's just me in this a glorified studio, 1-bedroom apartment with a hallway. And I'm kind of just damn, am I paying all this money for Wi-Fi that only one person uses? And I can't even get the primo internet package because it's such a waste. So I have the smallest internet, which is the slowest internet, but I pay full price for it. So I hate that. It is very expensive to live by yourself, even if you are living as minimalistically as possible. I turn down the heat at night, I unplug my electronics, and I'm still just what is going on? But I would rather pay a little bit more if it was half, if that makes sense. If someone else lived here, obviously more electricity would maybe be used, but I'd only be paying half of it. And there was little things that my roommates and stuff would keep me on top of. My old roommate was definitely thermostat queen, and I don't know much about the thermostat because I've been babied up until now about it. So now I'm just 80, I'm still cold. And of course, sharing the ultimate rent. Rent is so expensive, and when it's just me paying for it and none of my friends come over my house, I'm what am I doing? I could live in a smaller apartment, but then I would be even sadder. So even though I live by myself, you would think like, oh, you're lonely, but you have your freedom. Freedom's so cool. So I have always lived in a household until now that at least 5 people have lived in, 5 minimum. I grew up with 2 brothers. When I moved out, I lived with my best friend's family and she had 3 kids. And then I moved in with my roommates and it was a revolving door of at least 5 people minimum constantly. Lived with John's family, so it was like a nuclear family as well. All of that, and then coming here, has been very jarring. When I lived with a bunch of people, I still found opportunities to be alone. And I didn't really think about that when I moved in. I was like, I can't wait to be alone. I've been surrounded by 5 people plus my whole life. But when I was in those situations, like even when I lived with my family, I would wake up at like 6 a.m. because we just had 1 bathroom, and I would wake up that early just to have like a nice, long, quiet shower. And that had me up, that had me ready. I was doing my makeup and ready for my day already and got to satiate this feeling of like privacy. Now, I'm alone all the time. I'm never waiting in line for the bathroom. The kitchen's mine whenever I need it. And I feel like that causes me to almost be lazier because there is no schedule. Even when I lived with all my roommates, we shared 1 shower with everyone. So you would take it really quick and then go back to your room to get ready. Or, you know, kind of sit in your towel for like an hour. But still, you had to do something or else you were naked. Now, don't make me say it. I can be naked whenever I want. But it means I'm not getting ready. I have found myself late more than ever. I am doing lazy days more than like twice a week now. And there's nobody to tell me that like, there's no one to keep me in line. My old roommate, she would be like, hey, I'm gonna make dinner at 6 o'clock. Do you want some? And I'd be like, yeah. And she's like, well, that means you have to do this, this, and this before 6 o'clock, or else you can't have the dinner, and you already agreed to it. Don't leave me hanging. So I'd be like, all right, I have to get dressed, I have to go to the laundromat, I have to do this and this, so I'm prepared to be home by 6. Or else I will disappoint somebody. I'm not disappointing anybody here. Ethan? I wake up and feed him. So, because there's not really many responsibilities for me that, you know, other people depend on, I've become very, very lazy. No one is telling me to get out of bed. No one is telling me, like, to do the dishes. I kind of just do them on my own because I'm not really disappointing anybody. Having that feeling of responsibility when you're living with a lot of people kind of forces you to work within a community, so you're looking out for people. I would get up and vacuum if I knew my roommates were having friends over, because I knew like, I've got a couple extra minutes, what am I doing? I don't really let anyone come here, so it doesn't matter what it looks like here. And it's kind of just like, because of that, all the responsibilities are on me. No one can like, oh, I swept the other day, or like, I covered the dishes, just get me coffee. I would love that. I would buy someone an infinite amount of coffees if it meant they swept up the hallway or did the litter box once. But all the responsibility falls on me. And even when I lived with like lazy roommates, even when I lived with my brothers who probably wouldn't like help me pick up something, they stimulated me mentally. So I have this like vivid memory where I'm like getting ready for a date and my roommate is on the sofa. I come home and they're like, you like that guy? And I'm like, no, I don't. And I run upstairs and come back down like dressed. And they're like, you don't like that guy? Because you're kind of dressed. And I think about that moment all the time because I got to bounce ideas off of people or like kind of get ready for things with people. And I really don't have that here and I miss it the most. Even when my roommates bother me, even when my roommates like stiffed me, I just like miss being around people. And honestly, I was king of my privacy when I lived with roommates. And I'm really grateful that I live with a cat, or else I feel like it would be so much worse. So even with that, like if I clean up the bathroom and it like looks bomb, nobody really gets to use it other than me. I straightened up when like Alexa Flame came to stay, and that was like the most thrilling thing ever. I remember telling the handyman, like, watch out, I've got company at my house. Do you want to hang out with us? Now it's kind of like I have these amenities that I don't share with anybody. I have a pull-out sofa, no one really comes to stay, and I don't really invite people over because it's not tidy. And I have nothing to like share with people. And I feel like sharing was something that I did very well when I lived in like communities of people. Even if it was just sharing a conversation, if it was sharing an outfit, if it was sharing my food, I don't get to share anymore, and I feel like I miss that a lot. Honestly, I feel like living alone the last year, a lot of people say like you develop a lot of strength and you understand yourself. And I think in this last year, what I understood the most about myself is that I am very unmotivated when left like to my own devices. I will not motivate myself if it means like I'm only looking out for myself, but I'm much more motivated in a community where people depend on me. Now it's kind of like if I don't get out of bed until 11, nothing changes about the world around me, except I feel bad and I feel lazy, but I'm not enough of a bully to myself to like make me feel bad about that. If I stay in bed all day, I'm like, I know I'm a loser. But if someone was like, I made breakfast and you have to get out of bed to eat it, I would get out of bed to eat it immediately. I also really love the feeling of helping other people out. If it was, you know, putting in a load of laundry for John, if it was running to the store to pick something up for my roommate, I really loved having little chores that like had a emotional response, even if it was just gratitude. Like, thanks, Manda. Now it's like, oh, gotta throw out this bunch of bananas because only I ate them, and I know myself and I don't eat fruit. And no one's gonna bully me into eating fruit. Also, when I lived with people, like I said, waking up early to use the shower in privacy, I would adapt to other people's schedules, so it kind of forced me into a schedule that I had to complete. Like, if I was like, oh, my roommate leaves for work at 7:30, that means I can have the kitchen to myself by 8 o'clock, make my breakfast by 8:30, get in the shower by 9, and then by 10, my other roommate will wake up. Or even like with John, he would get home from work at 3, so I knew I had to do all my YouTube stuff by 3 o'clock, and then when he came home, he could relax and I wouldn't be like filming and stuff in his face. Although that did sort of happen sometimes. No Rules Apartment sounded cool, but No Rules Apartment only really exacerbated the things about myself that are my weaknesses. And instead of like coming to terms with them, which I thought would be like a good opportunity, it really just blew them apart and showed me that I am a social person with like antisocial tendencies, but who thrives in a social setting. I don't regret living on my own. In this last year, I got to get really close to Ryan. I get to understand myself a lot better, and I got to understand firsthand how important it is to me to live within a community. I don't think I'll continue to live by myself. I don't like it. This isn't a video where I'm like suggesting to you that living by yourself sucks. If you are someone who can hold yourself accountable, if you can stick to a schedule without outside influence, if you like eating alone on the couch for every single one of your meals and no one knows what you're eating, so you can just eat Boca chicken patties for 8 months straight, sure. That sounds good for you. But it was kind of like when I lived with other people and I got to be by myself, it was a little bit thrilling. Now my biggest thrill is like going to work and seeing other people. And one of them I do much more often than the other, so I don't know how healthy it is that I'm by myself so often. It's kind of like The Shining, but like I'm cute. So I wanted to talk to you guys today about living by myself and the conclusions I've come to. It's kind of just like an untidy, unscheduled mess in here. And there's no accountability because it's just me. There are things I did like about living by myself, but I did realize it was because I had a great relationship with my neighbor, and once I lost that, I just realized how absolutely alone this feels. I know that people can thrive by themselves, and this whole year my constant image was like people who live in the woods in like a cabin, and it's their lifelong dream to live by themselves in this cabin and like read books all day. But the only thing I really do all day is search for social interactions. If it's like I'm on Twitter all day, or I'm watching YouTube videos of people, or just like seeing what my friends are up to. And I know that all comes from like being socially starved because I'm living by myself. When Alexa came to stay, she like ate some stuff out of my fridge, she like got to use my body washes and stuff, and I was so excited to like share that stuff. And I wasn't like, that is my lush purple rain, don't touch it. I was like, do you like it? Wouldn't you know it? Queen Antisocial thrives most in a social setting. Let me know what you guys think. Have you ever lived by yourself? Even when I lived in Texas, I was a teenager and I still had Facebook. And I used to think, I spend so much time on Facebook and I know it's because I'm lonely. So, here it is, girlfriend. Except, now you're 27. I love you guys so much. Give this video a thumbs up, make sure you're subscribed, and check out my other apartment videos in the playlist. I have some videos about moving in and stuff. If you are ready to move out on your own, or maybe you are moving out with roommates, you can check out that playlist down below. It kind of like shows when I first moved in, and now that I'm on my way out, I'm kind of just like, okay. I love these yellow walls and ceiling, but okay. Till next time, bye.